like to share standard or best practices in CMU installation on building, and based on ACI-530 and in conjunction with IBC 2009. So in other words, these two standards are just in collaboration. So whatever you can say in ACI 530 thickness, or ACI means American Concrete Institute, you can also check it in the IBC 2009 or even IBC 2018. So that will be my basis now for my discussion with respect to the standard or best practices in CMU installation for building. Now there are 4 things that I would like to share. Number 1 is interlocking of CMU or at intersection. Because there are contractors who are some of the contractors are not aware of the requirement of the interlock, or we consider an alternate laying. It means half full, and so forth. So that is the essence of interlocking. You cannot say full for the first layer, and for example in the second layer you will put the same full. Even in the longitudinal without intersection, we could say that a straight line 100 lakhs. It is recommended also to be alternate, half full, and the same way in the next layer it will be full, because the first layer is half, then that will be the second layer will be full, half full, half. So that is the meaning of interlocking. It is purposely required to have due to the bearing stress, compressive stress. Lateral stress is not mentioning. It's that's why there is anchoring of the wall to the connecting structural members. Now we have the second here is grout on the reinforcing bars. It has to be grouted. Many contractors do not aware of this. Some of the contractors are not aware of the grouting on reinforcing bars. They are thinking that reinforcing bars will just be left as hollow. There's no grout inside, or you can just put cement. So the standard, the ACI 530 or IBC requires 2000 psi, for the grout itself. So to make it stable and rigid, impact structure with respect to the seals of the CMU with the rebars. So it was purposely for lateral loads also, because it is a rebars. Now for the number 3 things that I'm going to share is the anchorage of masonry wall to the roof or the floor slab. So your CMU wall, when you finish the CMU laying up on the top, it has to be anchored on the wall, or if you have rope beam, it should be itself be connected in the rope beam. Because usually rope slab has rope beam. So for example, your CMU wall is directly on the rope, on the floor slab or roof slab, then it has to be connected also as well. So that is the number 3 things that I'm going to share. Because very important, you know why? We are considering also not only the lateral loads, we are considering also the earthquakes. So earthquakes has X and Y components with respect to the forces. And we have number 4, the last one, the plumpness tolerance of CMU with respect to the either on the any direction, both directions, upward and straight line or X or Y axis. It has tolerance because we are considering the plastering. So we will be particularly, you know why the standard requires the tolerance of the plumpness, because especially for even the hollow blocks or the CMU has a gypsum board, still we need this tolerance. You need your CMU to be straight. That's why there is a requirement for the plumpness, the straightness or the alignment of the CMU. Because after that, for example, if you will be finishing it with plastering, so that will be a very critical. And after that, you have the painting, which is more critical, because painting has no tolerance. So we have to be aware of that. The painting has no tolerance. So in other words, even you are building your own house, it has to be, the painting must be plain, and there's no like depressions whatsoever. It has to be plain. This has to be straight. So that is very, very critical. That's why the standards, even in the Philippines, the NECP, National Structural Code of the Philippines, requires the same thing, because it is being adopted in ACI, American Concrete Institute. So that's all, and see the screenshots, the slides that will follow on after this video. Thank you. In this screenshot, as you can see, which is the requirement of ACI-530 or IBC building, IBC 2009. At the interface of the intersection, you can see the alternate laying from down, full, half, full, half. So this is the meaning of interlock. You cannot say full, then next full, and you will put the next layer full. So that is not acceptable as per standard requirement. So we have to follow the standard. Okay. In this case, we can see the standards so that we will be guided. That are at the intersecting walls, of which the alternate units are being mentioned, like 58.2.1, which mentioning 50% of the units at the intersections are laid in an overlapping masonry banding pattern, with alternate units having a bearing of not less than 2 inches on the unit. So this means that because of the lateral loads, so it might have some forces, laterally, so it has to be alternate, so that it will not slip in any directions when there are forces. So we have to be aware of this guidance of the ACI-530. That's why it emphasizing that it has to be alternate. Now in here, here's the second item with which is the grouting on the vertical bars. There are two drawings that have been presented. The first one was in the intersection in which the vertical bars also is needed, and where the grouting also has to be provided. And the second one is also on the longitudinal section, the straight section, wherever it's an X, Y, or it's in the as long as it's a straight wall, those vertical bars has to be grouted, and you will see the standards on the next slides. Okay, let's be guided with the standard ACI-530 section 1.13.3.5. For the grout, even there is also a fine and coarse. So we have, for the fine grout, we have the thickness 6.4, and for the coarse grout we have 12.7. So, or in other words, you can also use, most contractors are doing is they're only using coarse grout, or even fine grout, you can either. And also additional requirement for the grouting for the reinforcement, rather, there is a requirement for the covering of the reinforcement. When you are grouted, there is also covering, For the number 5 or diameter 16 mm, when the masonry face is exposed to weather, it has PPMM covering. And for the number 5 or number 16 or smaller, number 5 or number 16 maximum or smaller, there is a 38 mm covering. And for those masonry which are not exposed to earth, we need only 38 mm covering of the reinforcement. So that will be guidance for us also. So we are not only considering the grout, however, we have also considering the protection of the reinforcement. So it means to see that there's also covering of to protect the reinforcement from any from corrosion. Here's the number 3 item with respect to the anchoring of masonry wall to the connecting members, either in a rope beam, either directly to the rope slab. So this is the sample drawing, which is based also in ACI 530, and you can see that one also in the next slide. So now in this figure, in this drawing, you can see the reinforcing bars, which is embedded, and there is a sleeve, because it is being installed before the concreting of the rope beam. Now, in case you are going to use a post installation of the reinforcement, you just use healthy or drilling. Now, it is also recommended by the structural engineer, wherever you go. So this is a very good advice to all contractors, so that you will be guided. So you have two options: either you will put the rebars as a pre-installation, or pre-installation with the sleeve, so that you will not put the rebars while you will just put the sleeve and it will be grouted. You can put that, and then it will be later it will be grouted after installing the reinforcing bars. Or if you don't like to do it in pre-installation, you will just do the post-installation, in which you will use the drilling techniques. Healthy is even a ramp approach for anywhere in the Middle East, or anywhere especially in Saudi Arabia. Healthy company is the most approved company in post installation of any reinforcement. That's it, and you will see the next slide for the standards. Now, here's the standard ACI-530, Section 1.14.3.3. Anchorage of masonry walls. Masonry walls shall be anchored to the roof and on all floors that provide lateral supports for the walls. The anchorage shall provide a direct connection between the walls and the floor or roof connection. And even also, this has capabilities to resist the seismic. So even in the earthquake, seismic loads or any earthquake loads, this is also purposely reinforced. So in other words, the purpose of this, if there is an horizontal movement of the wall or lateral force, so it has to be resisted. That's why we have to anchor the masonry wall or CHP or concrete hollow blocks walls towards to the connecting either roofing or roofs. So as we had saw in the previous sample drawing. So it could be done either during before the concreting or after the concreting. So that's the option that the contractor can do, and that's it. And we will go for the next the last slides after this. Here we go. This is the last item, number 4, which referring to the plumpness of the CMU wall or concrete hollow blocks wall. In this sketch, in this we call that photo, we can visually see the hollow blocks are straight, by visual. But to confirm with this, it has to be done with a straight edge. We have to use a 3-meter straight edge, so that you can see if really the tolerance as per standard really has been complied. So either in this case it looks commercial building, commercial structure. So it's very strict. So we have to really comply with the standard. So there is a tolerance as per the standard. You can see in the next slide, which is 6.4 to 12.7 mm. So maximum of 6.6 meters. No, from 3 meters to 6 meter, we have 12.7 to 6 to 6 point, from 6.4 to 12.7 mm tolerance of the plumpness. So if you are also building your house, you have also to apply this one, so that you can also see the beauty of your house, because you will suffer at the end if your CHB wall is not straight. In other words, there are some deflection or sagging. So you will be suffering for that, because your plastering will be affected, and the painting is the most important. If your wall are misaligned, you will suffer the painting, because maximum managing of the thickness of the painting is only 5 mm only, or up to, for example, a little bit thicker than 5 mm. It's very hard. 1 cm is very hard to do without. You will consume all your money for that. So this is very important that you have to remember. Contractors or homeowners has to be particular with the laying of the CMU. So in other words, some of the tips that I'm going to share is that you have to utilize a mason which are good, well experienced, and have knowledge so I mean to say he's a specialist in the CMU, or he is a mason, a skilled mason who has well experienced and very a specialist in this activity. Otherwise, you will really suffer the consequences. You will have a more cost to be spent, which is wasting time, wasting money, and nobody wants this one. So, and also another tips is you have to hire an engineer or even foreman who are already who have experience in this activity, from CMU to architectural. CMU and plastering are included all in the architectural works. So you have to hire an architect or an engineer with a good experience, and most importantly, the skilled masons. And that's it. And okay, the last but not the least, so that we will be guided with the standards. Let us read the standards as per ACI 530 and IBC 2009. The plumpness of masonry walls shall be, so there is a plus minus, so negative and positive. Or in other words, plus minus 0.25 inch or for the 10 feet or 6.4 mm in 3 meters to 9.5 in 6 meter, 6.10, or up to the maximum. So there's a maximum that the standard has given, up to the maximum of 12.7 mm. So meaning to say from 6.4 mm to 12.7 mm for the 3 meters up to the 6 meter length width of the wall. So there is a tolerance for this, so that we can avoid the too much depressions and sagging of your misalignment of your wall. So it has to be followed, and either you will be doing your own house or you'll be doing the commercial. So the most important is we have to follow the standards, so that we can avoid wasting time, wasting money for the CMU installation. And it will affect also the plastering and painting even. And that's it, and thank you for watching.
Thank you. Leave a comment below.